Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Urban Dunya. I'm Tim Blight and welcome back to the final episode of the Australian Summer Road Trip. I'm here on a rather stormy Sydney morning and we're about to begin our journey down the east coast of Australia on the Princes Highway towards Melbourne. Today's route takes us along the 1,039 kilometres of the Princes Highway between Sydney and Melbourne. There is a much faster route, the Hume Highway, which travels inland, but it's less scenic. The first hour is spent negotiating Sydney's traffic before the motorway begins towards Wollongong through the Royal National Park, Australia's first national park. There, another more scenic route which travels through the national park itself begins, and if you have time, I highly recommend taking it. Stop in at Wattamolla Beach, where you can paddle along the estuary or even see some of the local wildlife. Further to the south, you can hike for an hour to the remote Burning Palms Beach. And then further around the coastline to the Figure 8 pools. Back on the road, the next stop is the Stanwell Tops Lookout, from where you can spy the city of Wollongong in the distance and the Seacliff Bridge. Driving along the Seacliff Bridge is spectacular, and a turnout at the southern end of the bridge allows drivers to stop and take a picture. Past the city of Wollongong, and there's another scenic diversion you can take. The red is the main highway, while the blue is the road which takes you past the beautiful Minamurra rainforest and through the spectacular Macquarie Pass. At the top of the pass is the town of Robertson, which is known for its potato production. Cue the big potato, which looks a bit like a turd. The road then takes you around towards the Kangaroo Valley and the quaint town of Kangaroo Valley, where the historic Hampton Bridge crosses the Kangaroo River. Back on the Princes Highway, you pass the historic town of Berry, which is, of course, very nice. If you had stayed on the main road, you would have passed through Kiama, a seaside town known for its natural blowhole, and a lesser known but more active little blowhole. The road then continues south through Nowra, and just beyond that is a turn-off to the popular holiday resort towns on Jervis Bay, including Huskisson, Vincentia and Hyams Beach, whose beach is said to have the whitest sand in the world. Everything so far has been within 200 kilometres of Sydney, and it's worth taking a couple of days to explore this region. They're not exactly on the way. I filmed a lot of these shots on different days. The Princes Highway continues south through Ulladulla and the fishing town of Batemans Bay, and then turns inland again to pass through dairy grazing areas. 2.5 hours south of Jervis Bay and in the heart of the dairy region is the town of Bodalla, noted for its cheese production, and once upon a time home to a big cheese, although it's now in a state of disrepair. No matter, you can still taste cheese here. 20 minutes further south, you see the water again at Narooma, and then it's an hour to Bega, home of the Bega Cheese Factory. Half an hour further is the town of Pambula Beach, in the heart of the area known as the Sapphire Coast. You'll understand that name when you see the colour of the water here. The town of Merimbula, set on a wide lake nearby, is the main service centre for the region. Half an hour later, we arrived at the town of Eden, where we would spend the night at the Coachman's Inn. So we've just pulled into Eden here, which is where we'll be spending the night, but I'll be back with you in the morning. Good morning now from Eden, where I'm going to give you a quick look around the town, and then we're going to be heading off on the Princes Highway to finish our journey in Melbourne. Eden was, once upon a time, used as a whaling station, but nowadays it's simply a remote corner of Australia with some stunning coastline and a church that cultivates its very own Garden of Eden. An hour out of Eden and the road quietly crosses over into Victoria, and just a little further along you see the turn-off to the pretty but seriously remote fishing village of Malakuta. 2 hours of driving through forest and the town of Can River, and through farmland around the town of August, brings you to the first major town after crossing into Victoria. The next stop on the road is Lakes Entrance, which, as you can see behind me in the perfect weather, is simply stunning. Lakes Entrance is, indeed, at the entrance to a lake. In fact, this lake is about 15 kilometers across. The Gippsland Lakes are great if you're into water sports, and at Lakes Entrance there is only a narrow strip of land which separates the lake from the ocean. You can walk across here to get to the beachfront. Other beaches nearby include the gorgeous 90 Mile Beach. From here on, the road is a bit tedious, but again, there are options to deviate. From Bairnsdale, you can head along the Great Alpine Road towards northern Victoria. This adds almost 300 kilometres onto the journey towards Melbourne. From the town of Sale, you can deviate south towards Wilson's Promontory, the most southerly point on the Australian mainland. There's some spectacular scenery there, but you'll need to take a hike in order to see the actual southern extremity. There are lots of wild animals too. This wombat came to visit my friend's camp. The final 2.5 hours to Melbourne is a bore, except for the last of the big things to see, the Big Pheasant, at a water park at the village of Tynong. From there, it's just 74 kilometres to the centre of Melbourne. And here we are in Melbourne and at the end of the Australian summer road trip for this time. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and stay tuned because next week I'll be starting a new series which will be the Melbourne Explorer series, and I'll be showing you the best of what Melbourne has to offer. So until then, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and tune in again next time.